Hi there, everyone. This is Jay,
And Momo.
and we are two sisters who love talking about manga, reading manga, thinking about manga for probably way too long. And today we're going to be discussing Love Me Not by Io Sakisaka, which is a series I was really excited to read because I love this mangaka. I loved Strobe Edge, I loved Aoharu Ride, and it was just a blast to kind of see what her next work was.
So I guess I'll introduce a bit of the plot. So the story begins with one of the main characters, Yuna, and she's on her way to say goodbye to her best friend who is moving away. And when she's on her way to the train station, she's heading to the train station, she is stopped by a random girl who asks to borrow money for her train ticket. And although Yuna is hesitant, she agrees to lend her the money, and in exchange, the girl, who we eventually know to be Akari, the second protagonist of the story, gives her a bracelet as a promise that she will meet here, right here, in this same spot tomorrow. And then the next day, after Akari returns the money, they begin heading home together to find out that they live in the same apartment building. The two of them immediately become best friends, although they do find out that they have very different views on love. And that is what the story is about. To me, exploring the different ways people show and approach love, specifically these two girls who we get to follow.
Yeah, we've got a real Sense and Sensibility on our hand where where Yuna has a more fantastical romantic view of love. She's introduced loving Sleeping Beauty.
Well,
Like she has a little Sleeping Beauty picture book.
Prince Charming from Sleeping Beauty.
And that's kind of her approach, and she's very innocent and naive when it comes to love. She's never had a boyfriend, and she hasn't really had a crush before, it seems, but she's kind of waiting for that thunderbolt arrow to the heart moment when she finally falls in love. And by contrast, Akari is very straightforward. She's dated before, and her thought on it is kind of, you have to, like, love kind of follows dating almost. Like, how can you love someone without dating them and without knowing them? So for her, she's had boyfriends before, and she comes at it from the complete opposite perspective from Yuna.
Mm-hmm.
She's more straightforward with love, and she approaches it from a more rational angle. She tends to think a lot about whether it's a good match between two people, right?
I guess so. Yeah, she talks about how you might meet some guys that you find out that you don't like. And it's kind of like by elimination that you find someone that you might like. And there's no moment that you're like, this is it.
That's what I meant by rational. She almost thinks like you kind of have to just try, right? It's almost experimental. That's sort of what I thought about
and
it.
I like that about her. Like, she thinks that you put work in and you get love out, kind of.
Yeah. Did you relate to one of the girls more? Like, was there...
No, I mean, that's kind of where I land. Like, I hope by the end of this series, they both find out that love and how it works is a combination of the two. Like, you might have that spark, that feeling with someone, but if you don't work toward being with them and loving them, then you won't be in love and you won't be with them.
Yeah, that's kind of why they make such good friends too, is that they immediately have this kind of friction between the two and they realize that they have such different views, and a lot of this first volume deals with them kind of sorting out their friendship as well as them kind of beginning their love stories, which will take up the bulk of the story, I imagine. For me, I related way more to Yuna, and I think that a lot of girls who read shoujo manga might relate more to her and her kind of fairy tale view of romance. I'm pretty sure that's why the author introduced Yuna first, and she tends to be the one that we see the stories through,
or
right?
Did she introduce Yuna first?
Ah, that's true, because there was the dramatic lead-in.
Yeah, that cryptic first page or first pages that don't make sense.
Momo, it's like a blink and you miss it. I had to go back. It was literally 3 pages. It's the classic 3-page intro to a manga
Then
where
the
it's the
title
flash
page.
forward in time. Yeah, and then before the title page, where the mangaka says some cryptic things about love and happiness and how you want to be happy, but you can't be happy, and you get this feeling of, oh no, what's going to happen to these characters? And then suddenly you just jump into Yuna being sad about her friend leaving, and okay. all that drama's behind your mind, but maybe that was just the premonition. Yeah, I found both of the characters very relatable, and I especially found certain interactions between them that felt like they were literally taken from my life. Like, I feel me and the mangaka must have had some similar childhood experiences, because I remember some of my, everyone experiences like having a childhood friend move away. But just that scene where Yuna's kind of hugging her childhood friend goodbye and they're kind of giggling to each other, I experienced that before, and just immediately I started resonating with Yuna. And then when Yuna and Akari first meet and they start talking about relationships, and Yuna starts realizing that Akari has a completely different approach. She's so mature, she's already dated, she has a boyfriend, it's long distance, she's like, long distance, what? I've also experienced that too, when you're kind of younger and more naive about love, and you start talking to another girl and realizing that other people are kind of growing up faster and you're sort of confused. You never quite realize that girls acted this way. Also, the scene where Yuna was really surprised to see another girl asking out a guy, that she almost didn't realize that other girls were doing that yet. Yeah, and that kind of jumpstarts her. One of the things that I'm most excited to see in the series is definitely the way that their friendship develops, and also to see the way that they kind of change over time, because she's really, I brought up Sense and Sensibility as a joke, but that's because it's such a good comparison, where that's also a novel that has a dual protagonist where they have different views, and they have to kind of, their views really change over time when you see kind of how the relationships play out and how their future plays out. And I'm really interested to see how both of them kind of mature, because they both show kind of like their immaturity in different ways. Yuna by just kind of not not understanding romance and relationship and learning all these things about it, other than her like Disney princess view of it from the beginning. And then Akari is kind of interesting. She has a tendency to kind of think that she knows what's better for other people. That's her I think that's her kind of character flaw, and that's what she's going to have to work through in the story. But that's definitely what's presented in the first one, where she thinks that she knows what's best for Yuna, and it's because she does have the more sensible, rational approach that she would feel that way, right?
But I feel like she kind of gives that up eventually, even if at first she's like trying to set Yuna up with her childhood friend, but at a certain point she realizes that, well, I guess I have to stop trying to do that because that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't even talked about the boys, which I think is kind of funny. The reason why is because I think
the first volume is friendship heavy, I think, which is super cool to compare the friendships in this story versus the friendships in Yosaki Saka's other work. It's really fun to see how she's grown as a mangaka.
I went back and reread the first chapters of Strobe Edge and Aoharu Ride, and I was really surprised by the differences. Mostly just in the way that she in her older series, there's the girl and the way that the girl thinks, and then she immediately meets the boys, right? And it's just, that's the story. It's the girl talking with the boys. And I know that there's other girl characters in it, and other things happen, and there's family, but it just jumps right into it, right? But I feel like the way that this one set it up, it kind of set it up to kind of ask a more interesting question, which is setting up this friendship in these two very different kind of girls, and seeing how their approach to romance will play off differently, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I love this split setup. It's genius.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think she could have done a better job of making you side more, or like see Akari more as like an equal protagonist, but I think she kind of falters there. Yuna seems more the main protagonist than Akari, even though they're supposed to be on equal footing.
Yeah, initially, so the manga actually opens with kind of a foreword by the author saying that
She wanted to write this story about two girls with two different views of love, and you get to see both of them.
yes, and that each girl is an equal protagonist. But I kind of dislike that forward initially because
It's like more than just the forward. She says it in like a side panel too. I don't know why she repeated herself. I think it says it at the end
she
as
just keeps
well.
on explaining the manga. It's like, it's okay, Miss Sakisawa, we
Uh-huh.
get it. Yeah, I hope that Akari gets a little bit more. You definitely get to see more of Akari, especially with the development with the guys. Should we talk about the guys?
Yeah, we could talk about the guys. Why not?
So Rio is the one that's introduced first. It's later revealed that he is Akari's stepbrother. They're the same age because their parents recently got married. And he is Yuna's first love interest, who Yuna kind of immediately starts to have a crush on him, but he's kind of introduced as Akari paints him as a playboy. Yuna sees him and she immediately sees him as this Prince Charming because he's very handsome and he looks a lot like the prince from Sleeping Beauty, which I thought was funny. They really do look alike if you compare the mangaka's
Uh-huh.
drawings to her little tracings of the Disney movie. But as soon as she sees him, she sees that he's not this prince. He's just kind of a normal boy.
I like that. I prefer that he's a normal boy. It was
And not this mythical male
That's just too
protagonist, right?
much.
That's
It's
so.
so ugh in shoujo manga when they do that. It makes you like I don't know, gag me. Ugh.
He when she first sees him, he just says like, "Hey, watch out for that shit you're going to walk into." And I thought that the way that they put it in the manga was so cute, where they put a little asterisk on the eye, and that it was so perfect for a shoujo beat release to do that. And over time, she learns from Akari that he's her brother. He's kind of a playboy. He has a lot of girls that are interested in him. And at first, Yuna kind of judges him a bit, where she thinks she still has this sort of a little bit of a crush on him, but she knows that it's better that she wouldn't, right? Because she sees that he's only into like attractive girls and he wouldn't be into me. And he kind of already implied that he would have turned her down if she asked him out. That was a great scene. But then eventually they start bonding, especially because Akari keeps on kind of chastising Rio for being rude or being uncouth to Yuna, so he comes back and apologizes, and you kind of see that he's a good guy. And him and Yuna kind of start having this, it's like right before a friendship, I would say, where they're sort of confidants in each other, where they keep on talking about.
But isn't a confidant further than
I guess that's true. It's like a.
someone you confide in?
Yeah, but they are confiding in each
Yeah.
other. They're talking about romance, but in very vague terms, and he doesn't realize that she's talking about him, and she doesn't realize initially that he's talking about Akari, most likely. That's the big.
Dun dun. We didn't say spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Do we even need spoiler alerts? I'm confused because we're not recommending this manga to anyone, right? We're just.
I'd recommend it.
I'd recommend.
No, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully people know. This will mean nothing to you if you haven't read the manga.
Yeah, but that's the big chapter 1 twist, and I'm very interested to see it. These kind of stepbrother romances aren't uncommon to shoujo manga. They're kind of a dime a dozen, to be honest. Everything's a stepbrother romance. Why?
It's because you get two people under one roof, you get more interactions. It's so lame.
And there's the built-in literal societal tension where, of course, the parents most likely wouldn't approve, but also just the world.
Guess so, but isn't it okay?
It is okay. That's the joke about stepbrother romances, and that's probably what the series is going to discuss later. Is that the fact that Rio likes Akari, their mother is very uncomfortable with it, and I also liked the realistic depiction of the mother where
She's so worried. I think she just innately believes that two teenagers under the same roof can lead to no good, and she doesn't want that for the family. Maybe she's worried for her marriage. I don't know.
I love the way that this was introduced too, because I feel like it's pretty rare that there's such an explosive introduction to family drama, right? Where Yuna is sitting in the room and talking with Rio. They were having a study session, and the mother just bursts in and says, "What's going on here?" Because she thinks that it's Rio and Akari hanging out in a room behind a closed door. And then after the mother kind of realizes what's going on and that obviously nothing's happening, right? Then Akari comes in, and Akari just kind of blows up at her mom. She gets really frustrated because she doesn't see Rio as anything other than a brother, and she's so frustrated with her mom treating her and Rio this way. And that's kind of where you get into the nuance of the situation, where Akari's just mad because, like, how dare her mom even suggest that she would, think that way. And then Rio's sitting there and he is feeling that way.
I thought it was really good. That was like the explosive moment, but even before then, if you go back and read it, you can tell that there's tension in the house already that you didn't notice before. That they kind of like don't speak when they're in the hallways to their mother. Or Rio kind of seems awkward in the house when it's just him and the mom.
And it must be hard for him. It would be hard to kind of know that your family is so against this concept, but not being able to kind of control your feelings. I'm really interested to see how the two boy characters, what their kind of view of love will be, you know? Because I wonder if maybe Rio's love towards Akari is something more like Yuna's type of love, where it was just this thunderbolt moment where now he likes her and he can't really control it.
But at the same time, like, you already see the other boy is called Inui, and him and Akari have a little conversation, and it seems that he's at least a little bit more on Yuna's side, where he doesn't think that you can make love happen.
Kind of that testing methodology that Akari has, yeah. Honestly, Inui and Akari, their interactions didn't leave too much of an impression on me because I just couldn't really get a read on what kind of character Inui's supposed to be or going to be. I guess he just seems like a normal boy who's very forward, and he has an interest in Akari. I don't know. I think I have to read the second volume to really see what that relationship's going to be like.
Yeah, they go into a lot more with Inui, and he's a really cool character. I like him a lot.
Oh, okay, good. That's what I figured. That's why I haven't really mentioned anything about him yet, because it was hard to get a read on him, honestly.
Yeah, which is strange because he's in it a lot. He's in the first volume quite a bit, and yet you don't really know much about him at all. You know that he lives in the same building, but that's it.
It goes back to what we were talking about, Sweat and Soap, where in most shoujo, you can see inside the female's mind because it's written from the female perspective. And the men in the story are kind of this black box where you can't really tell how they're feeling. And that's where a lot of the drama comes from initially, where the girl doesn't realize she's feeling a certain way, but she doesn't realize that the boy feels the same way. And I feel like that's what Inui feels like to me right now, where I don't know what he's feeling. I feel like he's interested in Akari, but I can't really tell.
I don't even know if he's interested in her yet. It's just kind of, they're beginning to talk, maybe beginning to become friends.
Yeah.
Beginning to become friends.
When I was rereading this volume, I was really surprised by how many conversations each character did have. Yuna and Rio and Akari and Inui, kind of the two pairings, have a lot of scenes together where they're just discussing whatever's going on at the time, which I think is great. I appreciated that this story did dive into the relationships. You could kind of immediately see the pairings, immediately see the characters and the way that it's going to go. But it's developing in this very slow, natural way where they're just talking to each other now, and maybe one person's more interested in the other, but there's still so much to develop, right? So many volumes to read.
Hopefully not too many.
Oh, did you? So I was looking up a little bit about the timing of this compared to her previous works. So Love Me Not is already complete in Japan.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. It started publication in 2015, so it's 5 years old. And yeah, it reached its conclusion at the 12th volume recently.
The 12th. Okay, 12 is okay for It's a bit long still,
I know.
but at least it's not going into like 15. That's too much.
My ideal shoujo length is always like 9 volumes,
Yeah, I was thinking 8.
unless there's a greater overall plot. You feel an 8?
Maybe you'd want for more. Maybe 9.
I was really surprised though because I was wondering if the reason why Shoujo Beat and Viz kind of took so long to publish this story is because Aoharu Ride was still going on, and Aoharu Ride is actually still being published in English. So I think
Wow.
that one has 13 volumes, and it was either the 10th or 11th that just got published. So they're actually being published simultaneously right now.
Well, and it's pretty weird that the movies are coming out now.
I think that's why they might have delayed it. Is that I feel like a lot of the manga industry nowadays is really baked around anime releases and movie releases to almost an annoying degree. Sometimes I kind of wish that not everything was, whatever you see on anime or movies or whatever's coming out, right? But it just makes sense, right? Because there's a huge marketing push for the movie or the anime, and then it can sync up perfectly with the release of the manga. So, yeah, that might have been it.